2 years ago, at a Thanksgiving table, I was told my dreams were unrealistic, that my chosen path was a disgrace. I was disowned. The clinking of silverware, the polite, almost suffocating murmur of conversations, it all hung heavy in the air around the Thorne family's Thanksgiving table. It was a scene I'd endured countless times, a performance of prosperity and tradition, a stage set for Uncle Alden to hold court. He was always there, at the head, radiating an aura of self-importance that seemed to grow thicker with each passing year, fueled by the steady, if unremarkable, profits of the family's manufacturing business. This year, though, the usual hum of forced pleasantries evaporated, replaced by a sudden, jarring silence as his voice, deep and resonant, boomed across the linen-draped table. Every eye, from my stiff-backed cousins to the wide-eyed younger generation, snapped towards me. "Rhys," he declared, his gaze like a steel trap, cold and unyielding, "you are a disgrace to this family. Your foolish, unrealistic dreams have no place in our legacy. From this day forward, you are disowned. You will receive nothing from us, and you will carry our name no more." The words hung in the air, acidic and final, sharp enough to cut through the thickest holiday cheer. I watched my parents' faces, their eyes averting, seemingly in agreement, or perhaps in a weary resignation born of years of deferring to Alden's iron will. They didn't protest, they didn't even look at me. A wave of gasps rippled through the rest of the Thorne family, some offering fleeting, sympathetic glances, most merely curious, enjoying the spectacle of my very public humiliation. Aunt Beatrice clutched her pearls, a few cousins exchanged knowing, almost triumphant looks. They had always seen me as the strange one, the outlier, and now their quiet judgments were seemingly validated. I met Alden's furious stare with a calm I didn't entirely feel, yet possessed. It was a peculiar stillness within me, a sense of quiet conviction that belied the public shaming. He believed he had shattered me, that his proclamation had ended my aspirations, reduced me to nothing. But as I slowly, deliberately, rose from the table, gathering my few meager belongings, a worn backpack containing my laptop and a few notebooks, I harbored a truth he could not yet comprehend. I held a secret plan, meticulously woven into the fabric of my supposedly disgraced existence, one that had been building for years. The weight of his words was real, yes, a stinging slap to the face, but the gravity of my silent promise to myself, and to the future I was already building, was infinitely greater. He saw a boy stripped of his inheritance, banished from the fold. I saw a cocoon shedding its constricting skin, ready to take flight into a world he couldn't even begin to imagine. This was not an end, but a beginning, and I, alone, knew its true trajectory. My journey to that fateful Thanksgiving began long before the turkey was carved or Alden's voice bellowed across the table. From a young age, I was an anomaly in the Thorne family, a lineage built on the sturdy, albeit uninspired, foundation of traditional manufacturing. Our family legacy was defined by gears, assembly lines, and physical products, by the tangible assets of brick and mortar. While my cousins were dutifully learning the intricacies of supply chains, inventory management, and the predictable rhythms of profit margins, I was lost in the digital realm. My childhood was spent hunched over a flickering screen, sketching out complex algorithms, and envisioning technologies that felt like pure science fiction to my pragmatic relatives. I'd spend hours coding simple programs, fascinated by the logic and potential, while my peers were out playing sports or learning about the family business. Uncle Alden, who had inherited the family business from my grandfather and wielded its authority like a scepter, saw my interests not as potential, but as a dangerous distraction. To him, my passion was a frivolous hobby, a departure from the real work that kept the Thorne name respectable and financially secure. He championed practicality, stability, and the tangible assets of physical production. My idealism, my fascination with the unseen world of data and AI, was, in his eyes, a sign of weakness, a childish refusal to face reality. He'd scoff at my ideas during family dinners, often making thinly veiled jokes about pie-in-the-sky dreams and digital fantasies that wouldn't put food on the table. He'd tell me to get a real job, or join the family, as if my pursuits were an embarrassment. There was an undercurrent of resentment, almost as if my very existence, with its divergent interests, was a quiet challenge to his authority and his vision of the Thorne legacy. I spent my early 20s pouring every waking hour into self-education. I consumed every book, every online course, every research paper I could get my hands on related to artificial intelligence and data analytics. I sacrificed a normal social life, skipping parties and gatherings to bury myself in code. Financial comfort became an alien concept. I lived on cheap ramen noodles, worked a variety of odd jobs, tutoring, freelance web design, anything that paid enough for server costs and electricity, and spent my nights coding, fueled by an unshakable belief that the future lay in innovation, not stagnation. There were countless nights I fell asleep at my keyboard, only to wake up an hour later and pick up where I left off, driven by an almost obsessive need to build. My secret weapon wasn't a hidden fortune or some privileged access, it was an unyielding dedication to a groundbreaking AI platform I was developing. It was a system designed to revolutionize market prediction and investment strategy, something truly disruptive. It was at a small, niche tech conference, one Alden would have dismissed as a gathering of eccentrics, that I met a venture capitalist named Lena Petrova. She had a sharp mind and an even sharper vision, capable of seeing beyond the conventional. I pitched my nascent idea to her, not the full, detailed blueprint, but the core concept, the potential. While others at the conference saw a young, somewhat unpolished kid, Lena saw the genius in my idea, not the foolish dreams my uncle constantly derided. She, unlike my family, understood that true wealth wasn't just about accumulating money, but about the unique value one could create. She listened intently, asked incisive questions, and saw the potential for exponential growth where others saw only risk. Securing that small, non-family seed investment from her was the turning point. It wasn't a huge sum by Thorne family standards, but it was crucial. It allowed me to dedicate myself fully, working in near secrecy, meticulously building something truly disruptive, a silent testament to the power of vision and perseverance against overwhelming skepticism. Every line of code was a defiant answer to Alden's dismissals, a brick in the foundation of my inevitable triumph. After Uncle Alden's pronouncement, I left that opulent dining room, not with tears or a broken spirit, but with a quiet resolve hardening my spirit, a cold fire in my gut. The cold air of the city hit me, sharp and invigorating, a welcome contrast to the stifling atmosphere I had just escaped. I didn't look back. I moved into a tiny, dilapidated apartment on the outskirts of town, a place barely bigger than a closet, a far cry from the comfort and spaciousness I had known within the Thorne estate. The paint peeled, the heating was unreliable, and the only view was a brick wall, but it was mine, and it was a sanctuary for my mission. My days became a relentless blur of coding, debugging, and refining my AI platform, which I had codenamed Oracle. It was a fitting name, I thought, for something designed to see the future of markets. I subsisted on the bare minimum. My diet consisted almost entirely of instant noodles, cheap bulk rice, and whatever discounted vegetables I could find. Every single penny from Lena's small seed investment was funneled directly into development, into cloud computing services, into server costs, and the occasional strong coffee that sustained my sleepless nights. I knew that every dollar spent on myself was a dollar taken away from Oracle's growth, so I lived like a hermit, my world shrinking to the confines of my small apartment and the boundless expanse of the digital realm. While the family business continued its steady, predictable course under Alden's proud, complacent stewardship, I was quietly orchestrating a revolution. He believed I was floundering, perhaps even struggling on the streets, having nowhere to go. I occasionally heard whispers through distant relatives, the kind that travel like wildfire through a close-knit, gossipy family. Alden often mused about my comeuppance, his voice dripping with condescending pity, sometimes even outright derision. He'd say things like, "That boy will learn the value of real work soon enough," or "He probably still thinks he can conjure money out of thin air." He saw my silence as proof of my defeat, my absence from family gatherings as a sign of my shame. This perception, this smug dismissal, only fueled my fire, crystallizing my resolve. My motivation wasn't just to prove him wrong, it was to reshape an entire industry, to validate a vision he was too narrow-minded to grasp. I made no public announcements, sought no external validation. Each line of code I meticulously wrote, each data set I painstakingly analyzed, was a silent answer to his doubts, a brick in the foundation of my inevitable triumph. My strategy was not to confront, but to build, not to argue, but to prove. While they meticulously managed their existing wealth, their established empire, I was quietly generating new wealth, exponential wealth, from the very air they dismissed as empty space. I was building a future they were too blind to see, too arrogant to embrace. The city's annual Business Leadership Gala was more than just a social event, it was a highlight of the elite calendar, a stage where the titans of industry gathered to cement their power and influence. It was an event Uncle Alden never missed, a place where he loved to parade his family's long-standing influence, hobnobbing with his peers, basking in the glow of old money and established prestige. He would always arrive early, beaming, surrounded by sycophants, ready to give another self-congratulatory speech. This year, however, fate had a different star in mind, one he wouldn't see coming. I arrived unannounced, my presence a carefully orchestrated surprise. My name, once synonymous with disgrace in certain circles, was now whispered through the opulent crowd by an eager PR team I had recently hired. They had been working tirelessly behind the scenes, preparing for this moment. The room, filled with the city's most powerful figures, buzzed with an almost palpable tension, a mixture of curiosity and awe, about the mysterious new tech mogul who had just shattered all previous wealth records, disrupting old money with unprecedented speed and scale. The rumors and headlines had been swirling for weeks, about an unidentifiable force that was shaking up the financial world. Now, they knew who it was. As I walked onto the grand stage to accept the Innovator of the Year award, an honor that Alden believed was rightfully reserved for people like him, the bright spotlight found him. He was at a table near the front, surrounded by his usual circle, a champagne flute frozen halfway to his lips. His face, usually a mask of smug certainty and condescending amusement, slowly contorted. First, through disbelief, as my name was called and I appeared. Then, shock, as he recognized me. And finally, a dawning horror, as a colossal image of L'Oracle, my AI platform, was projected behind me, along with the staggering, almost unbelievable valuation of my company, which had just concluded its Series B funding round. The numbers flashed on the screen, verifying that I, at 24, was now officially the richest individual in the city, with a net worth that dwarfed the Thorne family's entire legacy. I looked directly at him, my gaze steady. My voice, calm and clear, resonated through the microphone, amplified for every corner of the vast ballroom. 2 years ago, at a Thanksgiving table, I was told my dreams were unrealistic, that my chosen path was a disgrace. I was disowned. A palpable murmur rippled through the stunned crowd, a collective intake of breath. Their eyes darted from me to Alden, then back to me, the pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. Today, I continued, letting the weight of my words hang in the air, I stand before you, not just as an innovator, but as a testament to the power of unwavering belief in one's vision, even when everyone else dismisses it. I paused again, letting the magnitude of the moment sink in, allowing them to fully grasp the poetic justice of it all. My success is not merely financial. It is a validation of the idea that true wealth lies not in inheritance, but in creation. Not in clinging to the past, but in building the future. Alden sagged visibly in his chair, his carefully constructed world, his entire identity built on his perceived superiority, crumbling around him. The reveal was complete, the truth undeniable and devastating. The immediate aftermath was a maelstrom. Alden, once the picture of composure and untouchable authority, became a caricature of a man consumed by his own hubris and sudden, crushing defeat. He tried to approach me after the gala, weaving through the throng of well-wishers and reporters, his face pale and clammy. He stammered incoherent apologies, desperate pleas to reconsider my position, to rejoin the family, as if I were a lost sheep he could simply shepherd back into his fold. He spoke of shared legacy, of the Thorne name, as if it were still something he could bestow or retract, utterly oblivious to the fact that I had just forged a legacy far beyond anything he could ever comprehend. I met his pathetic attempts with a quiet, polite distance, a stark contrast to his earlier venom. My politeness was a weapon, far more cutting than any shouting match could have been. The rest of my family, once so quick to turn their backs, to align themselves with Alden's pronouncements, now swarmed me with contrite smiles and tearful apologies. My cousins, who had snickered at my foolish dreams, now recounted how they had always believed in me, how they had seen my potential all along, a blatant, sickening lie that churned my stomach. Aunts and uncles embraced me, murmuring about how proud my grandfather would have been, trying to rewrite history in their desperate attempt to secure a piece of my newfound glory. My parents, their faces etched with a mixture of immense pride and profound regret, tried to bridge the chasm. Their remorse felt more genuine, less performative, but the years of silent assent to Alden's reign had created a deep wound. I listened to them all, observed their transparent motives, but offered no immediate reconciliation. I simply thanked them for their kind words and excused myself. News outlets ran headlines about the prodigal son who became king, juxtaposing my meteoric rise with the Thorne family's traditional, now somewhat antiquated, business. The story was everywhere, on financial networks, in society pages, buzzing across social media. Alden's reputation, once unassailable within his circle, began to crumble under the weight of his public misjudgment and the sheer scale of my triumph. His business, tied to conventional methods and slow to adapt, started to feel the subtle tremors of the market shift I had predicted and, in many ways, accelerated. Orders slowed, competitors gained ground, and investors started looking for greener, more innovative pastures. The shock of my success rippled far beyond the gala hall, altering not just my fortunes, but the very dynamics of power within the city's elite. They begged for forgiveness, not because they finally understood my vision or regretted their cruelty, but because they understood the immense financial and social capital my success now represented, and they wanted a piece of it. Months turned into a year, then two. My company, Oracle, continued its exponential growth, solidifying my position not just as the city's richest, but as a global tech visionary. We expanded into new markets, revolutionized industries, and became a household name in innovation. My life was filled with purpose, with the constant challenge of breaking new ground, and with a genuine fulfillment that no inherited fortune could ever provide. I live in a spacious, yet minimalistic home, designed for creation and clear thought rather than ostentation. It's a place where ideas flow freely, a far cry from the stifling grandeur of the Thorne estate. I established philanthropic initiatives focused on fostering young entrepreneurs, ensuring that others had the seed funding, the mentorship, and the unwavering belief that I once lacked, or had to fight so hard to find. I wanted to build a world where talent wasn't stifled by outdated ideas or familial prejudice. As for my family, the chasm remained, though it shifted. I maintained a cordial, yet strictly professional, relationship with my parents. We spoke occasionally, they expressed their pride in my accomplishments, and their lingering regret over their past inaction felt real. I acknowledged their eventual, albeit belated, remorse, but the intimacy, the easy warmth of a true family bond, had been irreparably fractured. Uncle Alden's standing diminished considerably. The family business, unable to adapt to the changing landscape of technology and market demands, struggled to remain relevant, a stark and undeniable reminder of the perils of clinging blindly to the past. Their profits dwindled, their influence waned. He never truly understood what he had lost, not merely a share of my wealth, or the potential for a closer relationship, but the opportunity to be part of a future he had stubbornly refused to acknowledge, a future I had built from nothing. My peace wasn't found in their regret, or in Alden's decline, but in the quiet, profound satisfaction of proving my worth, not to them, but to myself. The true measure of a person is not the legacy they inherit, but the one they build from the ground up, brick by painful brick, fueled by unyielding belief, strategic execution, and the unwavering courage to pursue their own vision, regardless of how many people, even family, tell them it's impossible.